So thank you very much for joining me and having a little talk. So I sat in on your talk, your presentation, and I haven't been at a lot of purely medicinal cannabis conferences, but I have seen quite a few talks across various different research streams and models, and your presentation had the most amount of strains that I'd ever witnessed having been used in a study. So you were and that really blew me away. I didn't really know what to expect, but if you can just open up, so that's why I wanted to speak to you about that. But if you could give a little bit of background and introduce yourself.
Okay. My background is neuroscience. I did my postdoc in McGill University, looking at synaptic plasticity, addiction a little bit, and neuroinflammation. Now I'm in Daddy's lab involved in the neuroscience aspect of research cannabis.
Okay.
In different models to try to understand how cannabis is working. And basically one of the goals in the lab is to try to medicinalize cannabis, because today it's mostly anecdotal and there is a very few research in understanding the mechanism of how it is working and how to use it. And this is what we're trying to do.
So you got into neuroscience, I'm assuming originally just because you were fascinated by how the brain works, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's great. Well, how did you end up in cannabis? How did it end up cannabis in the brain?
Just by chance, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't think that I will do cannabis.
Yeah, you didn't grow up and say I'm going to do cannabis.
I actually was quite against cannabis. Mostly for the recreational.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people use it, and I didn't like what it does for some of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And because I thought that cannabis, it's for ages, cannabis was known. So I thought that everything is known about cannabis. You don't need to do research about that.
We just knew it was bad. Cannabis bad.
I didn't realize that there is no research, that it's because it's illegal. There is very few research on cannabis. And because I did in my postdoc cocaine, I'm sure that if you can do research on cocaine, definitely you can do research on cannabis.
Yeah.
So why do cannabis that it was so known? And only after meeting Daddy, I realized that there is no research on cannabis because it's illegal to do research on cannabis. You can do cocaine without any problem.
Really?
But
cannabis was more restricted.
To
do research on
in the US.
cocaine.
In the US, you cannot do research on cannabis. You can do cocaine, methamphetamine without any problems.
Because it's synthesized.
Because cannabis is an illegal drug with no medical use, as in the Schedule 1.
But cocaine falls into the codeine, realm.
Yeah. So
okay,
cocaine has medical reasons, so you can
it's in a pill.
You can investigate that, or you can look at that. Even in Canada, when I did my postdoc, 4 something years ago, cannabis wasn't legal to research as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that because, cannabis, everyone used cannabis.
Everybody in Canada was smoking cannabis everywhere.
Everyone in Israel was using cannabis. So, why? I was shocked that there is no research on that.
Yeah. So how long? So when did you start? So it was right after when you came
so
back
I
to
came
Israel?
back to Israel. I met Daddy, and he told me that he has a cancer lab that is also somehow went to cannabis. He was also not a cannabis guy before.
Yeah.
And if I want to join him to do the neuroscience aspect of cannabis, and it seems quite interesting. So I said, hey, why not? I did cocaine before, so going from cocaine to cannabis seems at least I'm going down in the scale of drugs.
Yeah.
So why not? And it seems like, and then you realize how complicated it is, and it took us a long time to build the tools to be able to start doing the research on cannabis.
So how long has that been now that you've been working with?
So I think more than 3 years.
More than 3 years?
Yeah.
And where has your research led? So I've seen you speak now. You're doing multi-strain tests now on various
so when
ailments.
we started, we realized that cannabis is not a single plant. So today, when a physician is prescribing cannabis or recommending cannabis, he basically tells cannabis without telling you what to take. So you can imagine that it's like prescribing antibiotics without telling you which antibiotics you need. And then you go to the dispensaries, and in the dispensaries they are trying to give you whatever cannabis they think is better for you, and there is a trial and error. So the medical community were not really aware that there are strains and there are differences, and each one has a unique composition, and each one has a unique effect on the body. And once we realized that, we understood that when we want to investigate cannabis, we need to separate the different strain because each one is completely different.
Yeah.
And then we started doing it. So now when we are looking at whatever model in the lab, we are screening for different strain to see which one is doing what. And from then we can start looking at the molecules to see which are the important molecules in those specific variety of cannabis that are doing the effect. And from those molecules, we can try to understand how they are working and what is the mechanism that they are doing the effect on.
So how many strains are there, do you think?
Thousands.
Thousands.
Yeah.
And how many strains do you work with in your lab?
So I think we have almost all the strains that are in Israel.
Yeah.
But so with the epilepsy, we were looking for high CBD plants. So we have about 7. So
there's 7 that are very applicable to epilepsy. Seven different
strains that are high CBD, for example.
Oh, okay.
So there are not that many high CBD plants.
Yeah.
Just because, again, I'm sure that it started with recreational, which is less fun.
We've bred them out.
The
growers have bred them away because all the rec people wanted to get not sleepy. They wanted to get high.
I don't think CBD is sleepy, but they wanted to get high, basically.
Wanted to get high,
if you don't get high, why grow something if you cannot sell it? So there are less CBD plants than high THC plants.
Yeah.
But for the other aspects, we are looking at least 20 different strains to start getting some kind of, and we try to look at strains that are as diverse as possible, so it won't be very similar. So we can start by that.
So you're casting a wider net on the top level. So let's say you're running a trial on epilepsy, and you're going to run 10 strains. You're trying to ensure that each of the 10 strains are very, very different, or as different as possible.
Whatever I can. Yeah. So
and then a good result. You'll get a good result out of one.
Yeah.
And then you'll narrow the field.
Yeah, and in that one now I can start separating the different components and try to see which one is important.
Okay. So what are so epilepsy is one major one.
Yeah.
What are some other neurological diseases that you guys are looking at?
Alzheimer's.
We
are starting looking at multiple sclerosis.
MS.
And we are going to start soon sleep. So even that's quite amazing that everyone knows that cannabis can help you sleep, but there is very few research on how it works and how it does it and what are the important molecules. Everyone will tell you CBD, but that's not necessarily the case. So not all the CBD plant will make you fall asleep.
No, and it's so I'm a medical patient in Canada as well, and I have been taking CBD before bed. To help, and it's very CBD high, very, very low THC, and I found that was great. I spoke to another cannabis medical patient. He's about 65 years old, and he told me, he said, I take the oil, the THC high oil, or I smoke this certain strain that's like 25% of THC. And I looked at him and I'm thinking, because for me, I think I would be laying awake all night. If I smoked right before. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't tried it, but for me, the CBD works great, and it really surprised me that he, and he's taking it very medically. He has a lot of trouble sleeping. He's going for the highest THC.
But I'm sure that it's not just the THC; it's the other compounds or the terpenes that are quite important for that aspect of sleep. So
Yes.
So it's not just the THC CBD that is important, it's the all the combination, and you cannot reduce it to the ratio of THC CBD that will tell you, because you can find a lot of if you look on different web page, and by the ratio of THC CBD they will tell you for what you need to take it for, which doesn't make always a sense, because it's not always related to those indications.
So let's, if you don't mind, explain terpenes in cannabis. So I think everybody knows what CBD and THC is, but from your perspective and from your perspective in research, what are the terpenes in cannabis? What does that mean?
So for me, it's the same as other molecules in the plant. So there are active compounds that can have physiological effect. They can activate specific receptors, they can inhibit specific receptors, they can have different targets, and when you take the cannabis, you are basically putting a lot of active components in your body that are doing different kind of effects. So some of them will activate CB1, some of them will inhibit FA, which is an enzyme that degrades endocannabinoids. Some will activate trap channels, some will inhibit trap channels. So those combination will induce a specific physiological response.
Yeah.
I don't care if you call them terpenes or cannabinoids. For me, it's I
They're
want to know
just
which.
the different compounds.
It's just different compounds. For other users, the terpenes are important for the smell and
the smell and the
taste,
flavor.
the aroma of the plant. For me, it's an active compound that I if in the model that I'm interested is important, great. If not, I don't care. If it's
just part of the medicine. It's part of that.
It's part of the compound that I'm trying to understand which of them is doing what, and I don't think that you need all of them. If we're looking on immune cells and specific aspect of immune activation, I don't think you need all the compounds to get a specific, whether it's migration of cells or cytokine production. You probably need a very small group that are going to do the effect. All the other ones are doing other aspects. So if, for example, if you're taking for epilepsy and CBD is important, the terpene might affect sleep, for example, or appetite, or other aspects that are, let's call it, off target. And with the terpenes, you can more personalize. So if you want to, you have Crohn's disease and you want something to reduce the pain, but you also have insomnia, you might find a strain that will help you with that.
The one strain that'll kind
the
of
one,
potentially.
Probably not one, but probably will have several strains that have the right combination that will reduce your pain and help you sleep. Someone that doesn't have problem sleep but maybe is more tired, you will find a combination that will reduce the pain but will energize you more or increase your appetite. So probably the terpenes and the other cannabinoids are important for other type of behavior that might be important, and then you can really tailor the cannabis to a very wide range of responses.
Yeah, so it's this opportunity for really personalized healthcare.
Yeah, but also if you more or less from I don't know if it's the right word, from the holistic way. So I can treat maybe you can treat pain, but you can also increase appetite or decrease appetite. I don't know if you want to decrease your appetite. Energize or increase other aspect, glucose level and stuff like that are not necessarily the reason why you got the cannabis. So it's not necessary for the indication, but it's for other stuff that might be if you are interested. So again, it might be also a side effect. So depending on how you look at it.
So let's talk about, if you don't mind, Alzheimer's and dementia maybe for a minute.
Okay.
What research are you doing in Alzheimer's? And just a question for myself personally: is dementia a similar ailment as Alzheimer's? Are they related at all, or are they very different?
So you can get dementia for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
In Alzheimer's, the specific reason. There is a specific etiology that leads to dementia, but you can get dementia from other reasons as well.
Okay, so, and Alzheimer's is...
it's one of them. So we are trying to look at different aspects from how we can regulate different type of cells in the brain and see how we can interact with the pathology or try to suppress it in a way.
Yeah.
We are just starting, so we have.
So you're at the earliest days.
We are earliest stage that we can see that it might, some variety might help, other might actually exacerbate it. So we are still trying to understand.
Some strains might make it worse.
Because they can increase cell death of specific cells in the brain. At least in mice, so I don't know what's going on.
In mice, this is all in mice.
All the research is in mice. So this is why I'm still cautious about saying cannabis can help Alzheimer's, because
for sure.
We are still figuring it out, and again, it's not as simple as you think. So especially that there's all those combinations, and you're pouring a lot of compounds. And I hope in the next year we can start isolating specific compounds and try to avoid killing specific cells and increasing survival of other organisms.
And that's really so. And that's the difference. So if you're trying to slow down some sort of neurological issue or suppress it, you need. I mean, the high level is you need some cells to succeed and you need other cells to fail. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's.
So now the idea is we can start in plates, look at different cells, and see how different cannabinoids can regulate those different cells. And once we find an interesting combination, then we can move to the animal models, and from there we can go and look at the.
Into the people. Now, Israel is a global leader, I believe, in human trials in cannabis. Am I correct in saying that, or one of the leaders?
Probably one of the leaders.
One of the leaders, and most recently, I believe there was you guys. Were you involved? You were probably involved in it. There was a pretty significant epilepsy trial that you ran here?
No, it wasn't us. It was
it was not you guys? Okay, I'll cut this part out. We're going to edit it, don't worry. Cut this part out, that part right there.
We were, but not that. It was other. We were not in. We are a little bit behind the scene, but we weren't that involved. So there was pain trials that we were involved with. And I think there was a talk about that yesterday. So with that trial we were involved. We are still analyzing the data to see, for example, so we know it worked with pain or some aspect of pain, but now we are in the process of analyzing the different strain, how the different strain affect the pain.
Okay.
Do you see strains that are more specific to a certain type of pain? But we are still in the analyzing stage, so we don't know yet whether it's important or not for pain.
So, where do you see medical cannabis going? Like, what are you excited about?
So the challenge today, I think, is how to make sure that the plants are stable. So I'm sure for some indication it doesn't really matter the chemotype of the plants. You can find a lot of different plants that will be good for a lot of pathology, especially for pain. But the more you go into more specific diseases like Alzheimer's, other cancer, then you will need more specific cannabinoids, and I think there we probably will move to pills or stuff like that are based on those molecules.
So eventually, it's consistent.
So it's consistent, so that you will know what you're getting, so you know that you can get the same thing over and over again. And don't be afraid that suddenly, there was a change in the weather or something like that, and now your plants are not the same, or something have changed. And we know that. We have data from different plants, from the same genetics, but from different greenhouse, and they are a little bit changed. So some molecules are a little bit up, other molecules are a little bit down. And as we don't know which one is important, I don't know if that change is important or not.
It's a plant, so every crop is different.
Exactly.
Even in the same greenhouse,
or
the same grow.
Even in the same plant, a different region, it will be different. So I'm sure for a lot of stuff it's not important, but the more you understand and the more indication we will find that the cannabis might be involved, then I'm sure you want to be more precise. So I'm sure with time we'll move more to other ways of delivery and stuff like that.
So what is happening right now in the medical community with this emergence of cannabis? I've heard you've said it you're not the first doctor I've talked to that has, at this conference specifically, at least, that has, talked about, holistic approach and preventative. Is cannabis bringing this into, I guess, back into the medical community, more of a holistic?
No, I don't know if holistic.
Approach?
Again, I think the community realized that it's not as bad as where we were told that cannabis is bad.
Yeah.
That there is a lot of advantage, and hopefully with knowledge, the medical community will be more open to use it, which you can still see physicians that are afraid of it, not just in Israel, but all over the world.
Yeah, everywhere, yeah.
And I'm sure with time and with more data and more research, it will be more open. So I think that's a good change.
I think that's really good.
But we'll see.
And I guess just to close this up, what for you personally, for you, your professional career, what does cannabis mean to you, or what is that for you going forward?
You meet very interesting people that I don't think I would have met if I would be in a different. That I don't think I met in other line of research. But it makes it more fun, I think. This
is fun. I think so. It's it really. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy at these conferences, and
So for the from the good aspect and the bad aspect, so you hear a lot of stuff that are irrelevant because there is a lot of emotion in it. So people are very emotional about cannabis. So a lot of it has nothing to do with research. It's basically what people are coming with beliefs and stuff like that. Which also is interesting, but I think that's one of the issues with cannabis, that there is a lot of people who thinks they know because they smoke. So I smoke, I know, but that had nothing to do with the medical aspect of it.
I've been smoking weed for 40 years.
I'm an expert in weed. Well, why do you need research? Come to me and I will tell you what to do.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I guess that's been the whole. You've seen the overinflated news stories, and cannabis cures cancer, right? Which is not a thing.
For now, it's not there yet.
No.
We're not there yet.
No, it's some research has shown that this cannabis
in a specific in the plate,
in the petri dish.
And there are other plants that are going to kill it. Whether it's going to from plates to human, there is a long way to go. And I think because it's a plant that can cause that you feel something with it, I'm sure there a lot of the response are probably placebo effect and not real effect. And I'm sure with time we will be able to distinguish which effects are real and which one are placebo.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you, doctor, so much. I really appreciate your time.